I'm 30-year-old male getting married in 3 weeks to my 31-year-old female wife. This situation does not concern my bride, just me and my parents. So 4 to 5 years ago, while on a fishing trip, I discovered that my father was cheating on my mother. The way I found out makes my blood boil more than the fact that he was cheating. The man introduced me to her as his very dear friend. It was strange, uncomfortable, gross, and weird of him. I'm not sure what was on his mind when he did that. We have always been close, so maybe he thought I'd be on the same page and cover for him. Now that I'm a man myself, he didn't use the word affair partner, but you know a couple when you see it, and that woman knew she was the side chick. So coming home, I of course just straight up told my mother, and all hell broke loose. They both ended up disowning me. I got over it and went on with my life. I was in my late 20s back then, living in another country, so it was not a big change. I just lost my weekly phone calls and my every 2 years trip with my dad. The story I give my fiance is that we just had a disagreement over inheritance. She was fine with it until the wedding came closer and she proposed the possibility of having a small wedding. I was confused because I thought this woman's dream was to have a flashy wedding, but it turns out she was being sensitive to the fact that I have no parents there. So I simply told her that I'll work it out and to keep the original plan and change nothing. I will even invite my whole extended family too. I already sent invites and most of them said they'll come. I arranged a Skype call over an email, and after small talk, I informed them that I expect them to be there. They were slightly surprised, but okay, until I heard some snarky comment from my father about how I didn't talk to them for years and expect support now without mending things first. I simply told him that the only reason they're invited is just because my family all accepts the invitation and my bride doesn't want her parents to be the only parents to sit alone at the table. She arranged seats like this, so both parents get to know each other. They got offended that I invited everyone before them, and more because I invited them for appearance. I sighed and said, "Look, if you're not coming, it's fine. If someone asks, I'll tell them the truth," and I hang up. I got too many emails since last night about how dare I blackmail them. Truthfully, I don't mind telling my extended family any of it. It's not my shame to carry, it's theirs, and I will not see any of these people face to face after the wedding. The only reason I did not tell my bride is because I thought it will unalive her joy and distract her from planning her perfect picture wedding. Update? So yeah, I am a jerk and I own up to it. First of all, some people think I misunderstood. But no, my father is a cheater. I got a confession and everything, and I wrote about the night we blew up on each other in the comments for a clearer view. Now for the update. I took too much time in the car preparing what to say while reading the comments. It was really scary reading a bunch of comments saying, I blew up my marriage for nothing and how I'm now unworthy of her trust. And I wasn't ready still, but I had to throw my phone away because it was unhealthy the way I gripped onto it. I found her on the couch going over the binder, which gave me a weird feeling, like I'm letting her down somehow. I'm not sure why I care for the stupid binder this much. I told her we had to talk. I used kind words, but I'm sure my tone gave it away. She looked serious and shoved the binder away. We sat on the couch in silence before she, in a nervous rush I suppose, rushed me to talk. She looked almost annoyed. And with high emotions, I blurted out that my father is an intimacy worker. This is the stupidest shoot I ever said in my entire life. I never even knew I had it in my brain. I never recall thinking it either. It's strange. But after a pause, she burst out laughing with this mixture of crying, I don't know, but her face was red as she asked me what. Over and over again, and I was just really stunned by what came out of my mouth. After a while, she just tied her hair up and walked around the couch and sat back down to ask me, what was I saying? So I started to talk using one Reddit commenter's suggestion. I told her that I am sorry, but I lied about my parents. I told her that I was ashamed that they disowned me, but I never really tried to get them back. I spoke a lot, and her face kept changing throughout the conversation. But she never cut me off. I kept apologizing. I think I teared up, or that was sweat, I'm not sure. I really believe I closed that wound. I really thought I never cared for those people ever. I believe I moved on, but the things that came out of my mouth were horrifying to me. I seriously don't think about my parents that much, and I thought that's what it meant to move on from something. Turns out, I may just be covering my dirty face. She got emotional herself at one point, and we sat in silence. She asked if it was hard for me to talk about it with her. I made it clear that it was not her. It was just something I never revealed to anyone before and apologized again. After one more moment of silence, she told me that she sensed something too, that I was really out of it ever since the seating conversation, which was around when I called my parents. I thought I was sneaky. She then admitted that she thought I might have had cold feet. She said once she saw my face, she thought it was me breaking it off with her. That's when I said the intimacy worker comment, and she burst out laughing. I felt offended, but I can't blame her, so I apologized once again, and she told me to save it. She reminded me that the downsizing was still on the table, but it made me frown. I said I really liked the original plan. She said we'll figure it out. So here's what came out of tonight's discussion. 1. I'm a dumb jerk for not sharing. 2. My father is an intimacy worker. She says she'll use this one after I'm done healing. 3. I'll go to therapy because I'm not as tough as I thought I was. 4. The wedding is still happening. I offered to postpone it until she makes sure I'm trustworthy, but she says no. 5. My parents are not attending. I sent an email withdrawing my original offer and telling them not to come. For the extended family, I let some of them know my parents are not invited, but I'll appreciate if they come. I did not give a reason. 6. The parent table is now turned into her parents and my one uncle I liked. I still get to tell him about the drama, but he's pretty chill. Maybe he'll act like nothing happened. 7. I told her I made a post, but she says she's too raw to read something on Reddit. She believes people are brutal out here. She may or may not check it out. 8. Thank you all. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot in general. You didn't blackmail them. You offered them a choice based on what they did. People have to live with the consequences of their actions. They reap what they sow, but you're the idiot for not telling your future wife. She will be family, and keeping that from her is a huge secret. She will stumble upon it, and she'll be angry at you for not telling her. Comment 2. You're the idiot for entering your marriage, lying to your bride, and also forcing two people to be there who don't want to be by blackmailing them. It's going to be entertaining when this blows up in your face and someone causes a scene at the wedding. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a while since my last post and a lot has happened in the past 3 months. After the whole fiasco with my parents and the wedding, things took a turn for the worse. I thought I had everything under control, but boy was I wrong. It all started when I decided to invite my uncle to the wedding, the one I mentioned in my last post. I figured he would be a good buffer between my fiance's parents and the lack of my own. Well, turns out my uncle had a few too many drinks at the reception and started spilling all the family secrets. He told everyone about my dad's affair and how I had been disowned by my parents. I was mortified. My fiancée was shocked and hurt that I had kept this from her for so long. She couldn't believe that I had lied to her about something so important. I tried to explain that I was just trying to protect her and keep the focus on our special day, but she wasn't having it. She said that trust was the foundation of our relationship and that I had broken that trust. Things only got worse from there. My fiancé's parents were furious with me for lying to their daughter and causing her so much pain. They started to question whether I was the right person for her and if I could be trusted. I tried to apologize and make things right, but the damage was already done. As the weeks went by, my fiancée became more and more distant. She stopped talking to me about the wedding plans and started spending more time with her friends and family. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know how to fix it. One day, I came home from work to find her sitting on the couch with a suitcase packed. She told me that she couldn't do this anymore. She said that she loved me, but she couldn't marry someone who had lied to her and broken her trust. She handed me back the engagement ring and walked out the door. I was devastated. I couldn't believe that I had let my past ruin the best thing that had ever happened to me. I tried to call her and apologize, but she wouldn't answer. I even went to her parents' house to try and explain, but they slammed the door in my face. Looking back, I realized that I made a huge mistake by not being honest with my fiancée from the beginning. I thought I was protecting her, but in reality, I was just protecting myself. I was afraid of facing the pain and shame of my past, so I buried it deep down and pretended it didn't exist. But the truth always has a way of coming out, And when it did, it destroyed everything. Now I'm left to pick up the pieces of my shattered life. I've lost the love of my life and the future we had planned together. I know that I have a lot of work to do on myself before I can even think about being in another relationship. I need to learn how to be honest with myself and others, and how to face my past instead of running from it. I want to thank everyone who has been following my story and offering their support and advice. I know that I have a long road ahead of me, but I'm determined to learn from my mistakes and become a better person. I hope that someday I can find love again and build a relationship based on honesty and trust. But for now, I'm just taking things one day at a time and trying to heal from this heartbreak. Thanks for reading. Am I the idiot for cutting off my aunt after she lied about me to go on a trip without me? I, 20-year-old female, spent a few of my summers with my mom's half-sister, 50-year-old female, when I was younger while my mom was away for business trips or vacations. My mom is a single mom. She never dropped me off without permission, and she always gave my aunt money to look after me. My aunt always complained that I was too picky because I don't like to eat breakfast. A lot of breakfast foods make me feel queasy, and she would compare me to her kids who never complained about what they ate. Let's be clear, I never complained to her or my mom about not being able to eat breakfast. I would usually watch TV while they ate. My aunt also complained about how opinionated I am, but she never told my mom about any of the problems she had with me. One summer when I was probably 11 or 12, my mom dropped me off and my aunt abruptly informed me that we would be going to see her cousins who were visiting from abroad. When we got there, I met her cousins' kids who were the same age as me, and we hit it off immediately. My aunt's kids tried to hang out with us, but they were 7 and 6, so you can understand how us 12-year-olds didn't want to spend our time talking about 7-year-old stuff with them. We spent the entire summer going over to see her cousins and their kids. One day, my aunt told me she was going out to the store to get something with her kids, and she'd be back by the time I finished watching my movie. At that point, they had been gone for maybe 5 hours, and I couldn't call her because I didn't have a phone with me. And even if I did, I didn't know her number. I started to freak out, and I went to the bedroom, locked myself in, and continued to wait for them. My aunt and cousins finally came back around 9 p.m., and she didn't say a word to me. She just went to bed. The next day, she told me to get in the car, and I inquired about where we were going, but she ignored me. We arrived at her cousin's house, and immediately I got out of the car. One of the kids ran over to me and said, "It's great to see you're doing better. You almost missed the trip because you were sick." Sick? Me? I looked at my aunt and she smiled at me tightly, and then I lied about being sick and miraculously getting better the next morning. Apparently, her cousins had planned a tour with a shuttle bus and everything, and had invited all of us. But I had conveniently gotten sick. Unfortunately for my aunt, the shuttle bus canceled the day before and told them they'd be available the next day. I didn't really take this experience to heart. Last year, while reminiscing about my summers at my aunt's, I told my mom about the whole thing, but I was shocked to see that she didn't find my aunt's foiled plan as funny as I did. She called her and yelled at her for abandoning me when she was supposed to be taking care of me. Their relationship hasn't been the same since, and my aunt blames me. Am I the jerk for even bringing it up to begin with? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You just told the truth. If your aunt's behavior was correct, and your aunt isn't ashamed of her behavior, she should have nothing to be angry about, right? Right. She's mad because she's embarrassed for being called out. She probably got a lot of praise from the adults at the time for being so good to you. And finding out the truth opened your mom's eyes. Comment 2. Not the idiot. This is one of those stories you tell people, and you're laughing because it just seems like part of your life story. And then you realize no one else is laughing, but it was a crappy thing to do to a child. You didn't share it out with malicious intent. You thought it was just a story to share with your mom, and it had consequences. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my previous post. It's been about 3 months since I shared my story, and a lot has happened since then. I'll dive right into the new events. After my mom confronted my aunt about abandoning me that one summer, things got really tense between them. My aunt started spreading rumors about my mom, saying she was an unfit parent and that I was a spoiled brat. It got so bad that my mom decided to cut off all contact with her. I felt terrible about the whole situation, like it was all my fault. I tried to talk to my mom about it, but she just kept reassuring me that none of this was on me. Still, I couldn't shake the guilt. A few weeks later, my aunt showed up at our house unannounced. She was furious and started yelling at my mom, saying she had no right to keep me away from her. My mom tried to stay calm, but things quickly escalated. I watched from the window as they argued on the front lawn, feeling helpless and scared. That's when I made a huge mistake. I ran outside and got between them, trying to break up the fight. In the heat of the moment, I blurted out that I never wanted to see my aunt again, that she was a terrible person for what she did to me. My aunt's face turned bright red, and she started screaming at me, calling me an ungrateful little brat. She said I ruined her relationship with my mom and that I was the reason her kids didn't want to be around her anymore. I was stunned. I had no idea my cousins felt that way. Apparently, they had been avoiding my aunt ever since they found out what she did to me. They were disgusted by her behavior and didn't want anything to do with her. My aunt stormed off, but the damage was done. My mom was furious with me for getting involved, and I felt like I had just made everything worse. Over the next few weeks, my aunt's behavior became increasingly erratic. She started showing up at my school, trying to talk to me, and convince me to come stay with her again. It got to the point where the school had to call the police to escort her off the property. I was terrified. I didn't know what my aunt was capable of, and I was worried she might try to hurt me or my mom. We started locking all the doors and windows at night, and I had trouble sleeping, constantly on edge. Looking back, I realized that my aunt's behavior had been escalating for years. Even when I was younger, she would often make snide comments about my mom and try to turn me against her. She was always jealous of my mom's success and resented the fact that she had to rely on her for financial support. I also started to remember other incidents from my summers with her. Times when she would leave me alone for hours on end or forget to pick me up from activities. I had always brushed it off as forgetfulness, but now I saw it for what it was: neglect. In the end, my mom had to file a restraining order against my aunt. It was a difficult decision, but we both knew it was necessary for our safety and well-being. It's been a tough few months, and I'm still struggling to come to terms with everything that's happened. I feel like I've lost a part of my family, and I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to forgive my aunt for what she did. But I'm also grateful for the support of my mom and my true friends who have stood by me through all of this. I know I made a mistake by getting involved in that fight, but I'm learning from it and trying to move forward. Thanks for reading and for all your support. It means a lot to me. Am I the idiot for not sterilizing my entire life because my girlfriend has germophobia? So I, 27-year-old male, had a small cut on my lip, probably from dryness. I had just washed my face, so it was particularly dry. When I lay down, she, 30-year-old female, noticed that there was a small bit of red on my lip. I wiped it with the back of my hand, leaving a small mark of red on my hand, like maybe an 1/8 inch circle, which I smeared with the other hand, leaving the small amount of blood invisible on either hand. She immediately freaked out and pulled all the blankets and sheets off, immediately throwing them into the washer just on the off chance that I touched them. She left home to get away from me and said she was having a panic attack at the thought of all the things I may have touched. She says that I have horrible hygiene for this reason and no other reason. Note, we make out all the time. We have intimacy often. We sleep together every night. She has been exposed to every germ in my body. I know she's super sensitive to germs. She has had anxiety attacks simply over the idea that I may have touched raw egg once on accident and touched something else in the kitchen. If I drop a piece of pasta on the ground, she will grab paper towels and Lysol and decontaminate the area. Simply picking up the food isn't enough. If I get a smudge of sauce on my hand while cooking, she'd get anxiety from me wiping it on the hanging kitchen towel rather than wash my hands. If that kitchen towel now had a miniature stain on the top of it, you'd no longer be able to dry your clean hands on the rest of it. If I brush my teeth and rinse, but wipe my mouth on the hanging towel, she says, "You're getting your saliva all over it. My mouth is closed. That towel is for hands only." She'd then replace the towel. If I kiss her stomach over her shirt playfully, she'd complain that I'm getting saliva on her shirt. Even knowing all this, I didn't exactly realize she'd react that way to blood, however. I called her a germaphobe. She claims that she isn't, and that it's completely normal for people to react that way to blood. My reasoning is that it's a complete overreaction over that small amount of blood. You can't see the blood, smell it, feel it, sense it in any way. Regardless, it's making her anxious. I understand anxiety. I don't mind going out of my way to treat blood in any form like it's a deadly virus just to ease her anxiety. I do believe that she's an actual germaphobe. She claims that she isn't, and that me calling her that is just to invalidate her and continue my nasty habits. I'm not unwilling to cater to her demands about hygiene, to be clear. I am absolutely of the belief that she should acknowledge that everything I'm doing for her is above and beyond to alleviate her own unnecessary obsession. Am I the idiot for believing she's a germaphobe? Furthermore, is it a disgusting habit to wipe an invisible amount of blood onto my sleeve? Or is my hygiene really that bad? Edit, since I haven't made it clear. Regarding the hand towels, blood, kitchen towels, my girlfriend and I have had discussions about these issues. There's no lack of communication. We came to resolutions on all of these issues. I'm just adding context to help readers understand the scope of her germophobia. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. She is one of the worst cases of a germaphobe that I've heard of. I am between not the idiot and ESH because you don't accommodate her that much. And for even a tiny little bit of blood, the normal behavior would be to wash. But you do mostly normal things. Yes, despite what some people say here, when cooking, if you get a little sauce on your hand, that's what you have the towel for, and you don't have to replace it immediately. Freaking out about saliva, sauce, or whatever else is off the deep end of germophobia, and you don't seem like someone who can cope with that kind of behavior. So I don't know what to advise. Comment 2. My wife is a germaphobe, and her symptoms are less grave than your girlfriend's. So if it looks like a duck and sounds like a duck, also it's not about hygiene and her basic reactions. It's about the obsession, the existential fear she feels in her chest when stuff happens, the inability to let it go or be. You can be overly hygienic without being a germaphobe, just saying. But if she is so sure, let her get a diagnosis that she isn't now. For the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my update. It's been a week since my last post and a lot has happened. The day after my initial post, my girlfriend and I had a long talk about her germophobia. She admitted that her reactions were extreme and that she needed help managing her anxiety. We agreed to work together to find ways to ease her fears without compromising our relationship. However, a few days later, I made a mistake that changed everything. I was cooking dinner and accidentally cut my finger while chopping vegetables. It was a small cut, but it bled quite a bit. Without thinking, I grabbed a kitchen towel to wrap around my finger and stop the bleeding. My girlfriend walked in just as I was doing this and immediately freaked out. She started yelling at me, saying that I had contaminated the entire kitchen and that we needed to throw out all the food and disinfect everything. I tried to calm her down, but she was inconsolable. She said that she couldn't trust me anymore and that my lack of hygiene was putting her health at risk. She packed a bag and left, saying that she needed some time to think. I was devastated. I knew that I had made a mistake, but I didn't think it warranted such an extreme reaction. I tried calling and texting her, but she wouldn't respond. I even went to her parents' house where I knew she was staying, but they wouldn't let me see her. As the days went by, I started to reflect on our relationship. I realized that my girlfriend's germophobia had been affecting us for a long time, but I had been too afraid to confront it. I had always tried to accommodate her fears, even when they were irrational, because I didn't want to upset her. But now I saw that this had only enabled her behavior and made things worse. I also started to remember some things from our past that I had forgotten. Like the time we went on a camping trip and she refused to use the public restrooms because she was afraid of getting sick. Or the time she had a panic attack at a restaurant because she thought the waiter had touched her plate with dirty hands. These incidents had always bothered me, but I had pushed them aside because I loved her. Now I realized that I couldn't ignore these issues anymore. I needed to take care of myself and set some boundaries. I decided to give my girlfriend some space and focus on my own well-being. I started seeing a therapist to work through my own anxiety and codependency issues. I also reached out to some friends and family members for support. A few days ago, my girlfriend finally contacted me. She said that she had been doing a lot of thinking and that she realized she needed help. She had started seeing a therapist and was working on managing her anxiety. She apologized for her behavior and said that she wanted to work things out. We met up and had a long talk, We both acknowledged that we had made mistakes and that we needed to communicate better. We agreed to take things slow and to continue working on ourselves individually and as a couple. It's been a tough week, but I feel like we're making progress. I know that my girlfriend's germophobia won't go away overnight, but I'm hopeful that with time and effort, we can find a way to manage it together. Thanks for reading and for all your support. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.